Welcome back to the AgriGrand podcast, the show where we talk all the dirt on soil, farming, gardening, and much more. Today, I'm joined with Beverly Alvarez-Torres, a scientist, communicator, and entrepreneur. She specializes in soil remediation, including chlorine strategies for salt-affected soils, and we are very excited to dig deep in conversation with her. Uh, how are you doing, Beverly?
Hi, I am doing well. I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you, thank you. I think we should just start off with like what sparked your interest in soil scientists and how your journey even led you here.
Yeah, well, I was always very interested in soil science. I was a child because basically I was curious about all the colors and textures that you have there. So at some point, I went to college to complete my bachelor degree in science. And at some point, I was working in a dairy farm and I was really curious about cows, but I was more interested in the soil, I need to confess. So my boss told me, like, hey, maybe it's a good idea if you go to college again and you do something with soil. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna to take your advice. So I went to college. I took a soil science class, and I was like in love with all the things that I was learning. So I decided to complete a master and a PhD in that, and I am here today, being a soil scientist.
Wow. I mean, it all kind of ties together with what you're doing with the cows. I mean, they play a big part in the soil in some way, so I'm sure you're still keeping them in your
Yeah,
mind when you're working.
yeah, I really appreciate that. I really like them.
Um, and I know you're part of different initiatives and different roles, such as the Soil Science Ladies and Mapchine. Did you want to talk a little bit first about Soil Science Ladies and what that's about?
Yes. Soil science ladies more because when I started in soil science, I feel like we were very few women in the field. And sometimes when I was working, I was like, oh my God, I want to go to the bathroom. And as a woman, you need to do like extra step to do that possible. And I was like, hey, what about if we have like more women in soil science? Maybe we can have like more support and more company in those moments. So I started sharing my experience on social media, specifically in Instagram, and I just connect with a beautiful community of women in soil science. And at some point, they were looking for advices that maybe my perspective was not enough for them. So I invite other college, and they say like, yes, let's do something together. Let's make soil science lady like a community, and right now, we are a community of more than 2,000 people, and we are spread worldwide with some of the members in Argentina, China, United States. We have people in Australia, and so great to have the opportunity to connect with them and not feel alone anymore, because in every conference you go, you will find a soil science lady. So that's great.
Wow, that's awesome. So your
Yeah.
influence is global. I mean, where do you find the most soil scientists in general, like across the globe? And then where do you find most of the soil science ladies coming from them?
Yeah, well, historically, United States has a good development of soil science as well as Russia. So you can find a lot of people with very good knowledge in soil science from those countries. However, I can notice that countries like Australia, Brazil, they are like supporting women and other minorities in soil science and in agriculture in general. So we are receiving more people for those countries as well from drylands. They are looking for innovation and how to manage in a better way their lands. So we are receiving more members from those areas of the globe.
Wow. And where are you from?
I am from Puerto Rico. I am from the Caribbean.
Okay, nice. And how do you see like soil science differ from there compared to here in the United States?
It's very interesting because Puerto Rico is a very small island, and there we have hurricanes and a lot of things that influence the genesis of our soils. So thanks to all those nature features, we have 10 of the 12 soil orders recognized in USA. So no matter where you are in Puerto Rico, you have the opportunity to know more than one soil, and that it's great because here in USA, you have the opportunity to know the soil, but maybe more deeper in the soil order. Like, for example, now I am working in North Dakota, and I really enjoy this place because here you have mollisols, vertisols, but they are really deep, and you can see like different profiles. In Puerto Rico, we have them, but the area is smaller and maybe we don't have the variety of series that we can find here in North Dakota, for example.
Hmm. Maybe I can ask,
Mhm.
what types of problems does soil science commonly solve in Puerto Rico? And is that different from like mainland USA? Is it different in North Dakota versus somewhere like Florida? What are like the main kind of struggles people are facing, and how
Yes.
do you help them solve it?
Well, that is a very good question because actually in Puerto Rico we have a lot of mountains, features that we don't have in Florida or in North Dakota. So in Puerto Rico we have a lot of landslides. So soil scientists are in charge of manage those situations, how to prevent like the soil erosion, how to take care of how the land is management when you have like constructions in the island, because we have a lot of reconstructions due to the hurricanes or due to the earthquakes. So we are always like very active working with soil, but our perspective is more about urban planning, I can say. In Florida, in other aspect, you have a different landscape. It's more flat and the soil it's more sandy. And based on what they have in climate annually, they have more flood than us. So that make them be more involved in the hydrology of their soils and drainage. In North Dakota, we have more mollisols and vertisols, and it's completely different from Florida and Puerto Rico because we don't have the floods because of hurricanes, but we have the winter. And in winter, some people think that hey, how winter can be related with soil. Well, I have learned that it's really important because all the snow that we receive in winter here in North Dakota and in other areas of the Midwest is the water that plants and soil consume during the spring. So actually, they are three different places, but the soil signs has three different roles, basically.
Hmm. Maybe as a follow-up, I would like to know how do you stop erosion from happening in a place that has hurricanes and a lot of construction and things like that? What do you usually recommend for a situation like that?
Yeah, well, in Puerto Rico, I had the opportunity to work with um, lawn companies and lawn care teams. And basically, my recommendation for the people and what I try to teach them is that we need to keep the soil as covered as we can because that is the first protection barrier of the soil, the vegetation. So basically, when I communicate with people in the community in Puerto Rico, I told them like, hey, try to have like some kind of turf on top of your soil. And if you don't have that, try to protect it with some native plants from Puerto Rico, like patchouli or other grasses that we use to create like a kind of barriers with the roots and prevent that erosion and compaction in soil. That's always my advice. And after having the soil covered, I think that the second recommendation, the most important second recommendation for me is to have like some kind of connection with your soil. You know, it's not just like working with the soil, it's also take the time to observe the landscape in your surrounding and see how it is changing over time. That it's very important because it's part of the land management of the soil.
So those are like very like regenerative, sustainable practices that like
Yeah.
you're trying to teach. How are people like receptive, say like in Puerto Rico? How are the farmers or like large scale gardeners? How are they taking that advice?
Well, actually, in my case, the experience was so nice because in the area where I was able to offer my services, people were open to the information and open to learn. So basically, when we did a recommendation for one neighbor, usually the other neighbors take it as well. So it
Hmm.
was great because it's like you are not just offering a service, you are also educating them to request a better service in the future because they will say like, hey, yes, but previously the service was made by some scientist and it was a recommendation, so can you do the same? And that for me is community empowerment. So that's why i I want to do in my role.
Yeah, I mean that's just like instant gratification in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe you can tell us about your company, which
Mhm.
does the soil science part of it and also the communication part of it and like the education of people. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. Well, in Mapchine, basically, we are focused on the environmental consulting, specifically for environmental projects that are related with geographic science, like soil maps, artificial intelligence, or any kind of data analysis or visualization. There we have some initiatives. Obviously, we have our clients, and we are more than happy to work with them because we can offer not just environmental consulting services, but as I mentioned before, our service is something more holistic. So we offer you the science, but as also we offer you the tools to communicate your science to the community. So that is something that make the difference in us. And how we do that? Well, if we offer you a services and you want to translate that knowledge to the community, we can help you with a course, we can assist you with a webinar, with a training, or we can even create like some kind of conference for you, because our idea is to connect the industry with the community and allow them to work as a team. So right now we have a initiative in Mapchine as one of the examples that we work with. We have been working really close with clients interested in soil, specifically in urban soils. So right now we have this online soil course that will be running this fall, and it's completely free for people already enrolled because the enrollment was closed like 2 weeks ago. And the idea is to give a space to the industry to communicate their ideas and what they are doing, but also having a space to allow the community to learn from them and learn a little bit more about how we can make great things in our community together.
Mm.
Yeah, so it seems like you're trying to tackle a similar problem that like we recognize too, in that in the soil science community or just maybe science community in general, but specifically in soil science, there seems to be like this communication gap between like the people, like the everyday common person, and like the deep soil research that's going on and that they're trying to push. Because, I mean, in general, things are somewhat recent, like starting in the 40s, of like really understanding like what's going on in the soil. So, I mean, how did you get involved in tr like seeing this issue and like wanting to pursue it?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I do with the community as well with the team, with our team in Mapchine, is that I always try to communicate to them the role of the soil in the project that we are working with. For example, if we are working with a community that is focused on how to grow food, we need to communicate the soil as a medium to grow food and explain how it can be used for. But it's so hard when you have communities that live, for example, in apartments or in places where they don't have like too much contact with soil because they don't have like the opportunity to work with. So what I try to do is I try to let them know like, hey, a lot of things that you have in your home, including your clothes, including a lot of the minerals that you use in your daily life, they come from the soil. They are there because of the soil. And in that way, people can understand a little bit better the role of the soil. As well, they can be more involved in what we are doing, not just in the community, but also in the company. And to give you an example, we have people working with us that they are not even in soil science. They are from other careers, but we have been doing a really good job explaining what is soil and the role of soil in our community and our life. So they are working with us because they believe in the idea.
Hmm.
So the message is important.
Yes, totally agree. Um, and kind of like going on to like how like like urban living, like you might not be in contact with soil, but what you're doing matters a lot to the soil outside of you. And kind of going into salt and chlorine, a lot of times I'm thinking like around me or anything like how people are, or maybe even especially in North Dakota where there's a lot of snow and people are throwing a lot of salt on the snow. How is that affecting like the soil?
Yeah, well, that is very interesting. And actually, we don't have that in Puerto Rico, so it's something that I learned when I moved here to North Dakota. And it's because in areas where you have winter, like really hard winter, where you have like ice on roads and it's snow like falling on time, you need to control the ice because you can have like accidents. So they add salts to the ice in order to absorb like the water that is in the ice and melt it. So it's a very good strategy because it's very effective with the snow and the ice, but it's not good for our soils. Why? Because those salts they basically change the properties of the soils that we have in the surroundings area. And when I am talking about those properties, I am talking specifically about electrical conductivity, that is very important for the plants. We are talking about the pH, that is very important for the microbial communities. And we are also talking about, for example, chloride or sodium toxicity. Why? Because that is the most typical salt used for road and snow. And as a fact, sodium chloride is the same salt that we use in our food. So it's very useful, but it's not the best option. Here in North Dakota, we have multiple replacements for that material, And one thing that we have been using that is really good and is not as salty as the sodium chloride is the sugar beet residue. Basically, with the sugar beet residue, you can make like a kind of powder, and that powder is high in calcium. And basically, that helps to manage the ice and the snow in areas where people can have like some kind of accidents. So yeah, we are working in better ways to manage those situations.
Oh, that's excellent. I've read that sugar beet residue, people often get lime from that as like a really good calcium source. I've heard that it
Yeah,
also has other trace minerals with it and things like that. So it sounds like a much better solution than sodium chloride on the roads like that.
yeah.
Great.
It's a better solution. It's add organic matter to the soil, and as you mentioned, it has other nutrients. So yeah,
It's wonderful.
And
yeah, innovation.
do you think like the reason why people aren't using that as much as like say the sodium chloride is just because of the communication and not understanding like, oh, this is better? Or do you think it's just like industry
Mm,
like what's your opinion on that?
well, I think that people it's always open to do their best. You know, people is always willing to change and improve the way they do things. The situation is that we need to recognize that we depend on the market. So if in the market you only have like sodium chloride, that's is what people is gonna to use because that is what we have available for us. So I think that if we want to do like real change, we need to work with the industry. We need to communicate with them. We need to say like, hey, I have identified this challenge in the community, and I have an idea that can be a solution. Are you interested in talking more about that? It's very simple, but it's something that can change the policies and the way of life of many communities. So that's why that's why I really believe in science communication because with that you can do great things. But yeah, I feel that people is always open to do their best. It's just that it's what we have in the market. So
Mhm.
So you believe in like a top-down approach in that like you think we should target the big industry players and that their changes will trickle down to the general population to then like kind of make a broader impact from there,
that's why
essentially.
we are scientists. Our job is to produce science, translate science, communicate science. And it's not just for the paper, we know, because sometimes as scientists, we are really worried about the thesis, about the paper, but what we are going to do with our knowledge after that paper, what you are going to do with that knowledge. I mean, the people that have the power to change the world with your knowledge is the industry. So you need to partner with them, you need to learn about the process and things that they are doing to see how you can incorporate your idea in those projects. And with that, you will be doing something not just for you, not something for the company, but as well for the community.
Mm.
That is like the objective, at least for me.
Um, I think a lot of the industry right now is big on AI, and I was very excited to talk to you about like the what you see as the future for and what you might use in Mapchine for like artificial intelligence and mapping out like different algorithms and techniques to kind of essentially help soil scientists and your goal of communication.
Yeah, well, in matching, we use artificial intelligence for everything. We use artificial intelligence for administrative assistant. We use it to create content for social media. We use it to manage our social media. We use it to connect with other people. As well, we manage a lot of the data in our project, and a lot of our data analyses are made with artificial intelligence. So our approach is like incorporate artificial intelligence or at least statistic and science in all the projects that we do. So that's why when we have a course, when we have a training, we are always in communication with the people that we are impacting, because that feedback, the information that they gave us, that's data that I can use with artificial intelligence, not for my benefit, for improved experience for them in the future. So
Hmm.
that's why we basically try to incorporate artificial intelligence in all what we do, just to give you a better product.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
How have you seen AI impacting the industry like at the moment? Like not just with your company, but with all companies.
Mm, I noticed that some companies are less welcome to artificial intelligence than others.
Hmm.
Um, And I think that maybe it's because they feel that some of the things that they do will be like obsolete with all the new artificial intelligence tools that you have available. But what I am trying to communicate to them is that we can my goal is to learn what you need, what you want to do, which is your goal. And after that, I will give you an idea of how artificial intelligence can guide you or can assist you in that goal. That's it's basically my approach. In other situations, I have seen some companies that try to put artificial intelligence as a replacement for all what they do. And for us, it's more about the empowerment that you can get with artificial intelligence. I mean, I have employees that they know how to do their job perfectly without artificial intelligence. But at the final of the day, I want my employees to be better. I want them to be prepared. I want them to be educated. And the way I keep them in that way is incorporating all those innovations that we have in the market. And artificial intelligence is just one of it.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Um,
You had mentioned, figuring out
Mhm.
what people are trying to accomplish so that you can give them exactly what they need.
Mhm.
Uh, my goal with gardening is to just grow the most nutrient dense food possible. I want to have like the healthiest possible food. Do you think that there's a lot of other people out there like that, or are people just trying to grow like a lot of food?
Well, that is a very good question because people um, people want to grow food. I cannot um it's something that you can see in the community. They are interested in grow their own food, they are interested in having a better health, in having better options to consume. The situation is that it's not just the desire of the community. It's more than that. For example, you are living in a small town close to the city, and you are living in an area where the city is expanding. So your house in inside the limit of the city, but my neighbor is in the it's outside the limit of the city just because of policy. You know, because the city is growing and my land is classified in one use and their land is classified in other use. So just because of that, no matter how much desire you have to grow your own food, if the land policies say that it's just for living and not for agriculture, some landowners don't allow the people that is living in the property to have like big gardens or some kind of a small farms. So that's why some communities are working or creating these kinds of community gardens just to facilitate what people want to do there. And once you have these community gardens, you see the people working there like really hard to grow food. However, you see also people that don't have the facility to go to those community gardens. So they are always like watching and observing how the plants grow, and they have the desire. But as soil scientists, that's why we need to communicate, because it's not just the soil. We need to talk with politicians. We need to talk with people that can move forward the community just to allow us to do something to help them to grow like food more nutrient dense, because it's not just the desire that people want to grow their food. It's we need to build capacity for them. That's why I'm talking. We need to build capacity for the communities to allow them to grow like nutrient dense food.
It sounds
So
like
I'm
you're
sorry, go ahead, Rose.
sorry, yeah. It sounds like you're tackling structural problems, like within our political system or the regulations.
Mhm.
Besides land use regulations, are there any other structural problems that you think are important for, getting people to be able to actually grow nutrient-dense food?
Yes, of course. Water accessibility. I mean, some properties has access to water, but others properties don't have it. So, for example, in small communities where the water service is included in the rent, some landowners don't allow people to have like water sources outside of the house. So how they are gonna to irrigate the garden, how they will have that small space with plants flourishing if they don't have water for them, you know? And those kind of details make things harder for the people. So that's why we need soil scientists communicating with everyone just to change those small details.
Uh,
I was going to mention that it seems a lot of the trends of farming and big agriculture are going to uh, just giant farms, essentially, just eating up the small farms, and it's all going into just one big, like we're just making food on just these giant not monoculture farms, but just single farms, essentially, owned by large corporations. And I think that's kind of going against of what you're talking about in that like you're mentioning like people should have like urban citizens should have more access to water to make their land better and just more land to grow resources such as food and different kinds of just anything that they want. So how do you feel about that and where do you think the solutions are to try to convert back and pull away from that large corporation taking over everything?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the work that corporations do, because in Puerto Rico, 80% of our food is imported.
Mm.
So I need to recognize that no matter how much land these big companies, as you mentioned, have, I in my country sometimes we have food because they work, because they have these big lands. I mean, because we don't have the capacity or even the workforce to work at that big scale in Puerto Rico. So I really appreciate all the great work that they do to feed, the population. However, I really believe that people need a space to be connected with nature and what they are, because we are what we eat. And sometimes I see kids that they don't recognize the name of a vegetable or the name of a fruit, but they know a little bit more about Minecraft and all that fun stuff, you know? And it's great. I feel that wow, we have very smart generations. They are like integrated in technology, but how we integrate them in nature. And I feel that if we have the facility to have like gardens in our houses, we can integrate not just the kids, but also the elderly people that maybe live alone, that maybe don't have like company. Maybe they can have a club in the community about gardening, you know, if someone has like a cool space, and it's not just like growing food, it's helping the people or giving them like a kind of living space to learn about nature, live, be there and learn about water, about the soil, about the role of those natural resources in our life, and how we can contribute to the community to make that availability like possible for us. For me, that's the vision, and I think that the industry can connect with the community really well. For example, I really enjoy when I go to the supermarket and I see these labels on the vegetable section, and sometimes they have like information about the vegetable, or even there is one tomato brand that on the cap of the plastic container they put a photo, about a photo of the farmer of the land with
Mm.
a QR, and you can scan the QR and you can learn about the farm and about the farmer. And I think that those are initiatives that the industry has that support the community. And for me, that's the point that I want to reach. I want to connect the community with the industry, and and like collaborate together, because at the final of the day we are all together in this amazing planet. So it's time to do something great.
Totally agree. And I think that like your solution of like getting these third spaces can actually solve another problem that's going on, at least in America, where they call it the loneliness epidemic, where a lot of people are feeling lonely, and it's because of like these lack of third
Yeah.
spaces that people have. And I mean, just simply introducing more gardens or like local landscapes that are more nature friendly, can not only educate people but also introduce those third spaces back. So government politics, government policies should definitely be looking to introduce that. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah, that's true, and it really resonates with my personality. For example, in home, I plant some flowers this spring, and they are doing great. I'm really happy with them, and it's great because I have noticed that we have like cats visiting us, because we have pollinators in the flowers and we have birds in the flowers. So cats are coming just to play with the plants and see what we have there. As well, we have receiving like some neighbors, some kids, like asking about the flowers and asking about the animals. So I think that the soil is not just the connector among water, plants, and food. It's also the connector among us. And
hmm.
and it's really happy when you work basically doing that in the community.
Maybe if I could just touch on one thing, I can't go
Mhm.
through one of these podcasts without talking about soil chemistry just a little bit, because after you've read about soil chemistry for hundreds of hours, it's like pretty much all you could think about. So
Oh,
maybe if you can mention, Beverly, what do you think about the soils in Puerto Rico? Because I haven't heard anything about Puerto Rican soils yet. And, are they low in calcium? Are they high in potassium? Are they high in sodium? Like, what are the normal kinds of chemical makeups that you see, and kind of what are you supposed to add to the soil there?
nice. Well, in Puerto Rico, as I mentioned before, we have 10 of the 12 soil orders. So that means that we have 10 of the 12 soil challenge that you have here in USA. And just to mention some of them that we have in common, in the southwest part of the island, we have mollisols and vertisols, and some areas has like salinity. Um, so it's very similar with what we observe here in North Dakota, for example, or in South, or in some areas of South Dakota. So soil salinity is something very characteristic, especially in mollisols and vertisols. In oxysols, I need to say that it's like a little bit hard to make them stable because they are in the mountains area. So usually they have landslides, and sometimes there we have like high concentrations of aluminium. We what can like interference with other soil nutrients uptake in plants. So we try to have some kind of remediation for the soils as well. We have a lot of areas close to rivers, so we have antisols, and we have also alfisols in Puerto Rico, and sometimes the material can be a little bit lost, or maybe too much slop, so we cannot grow things there. So basically, they are used for coffee or maybe bananas or other crops. So we don't have that the same machinery that you have here in USA. However, we face some of the challenge with the machinery because, well, in USA, your workforce is the machinery. For us, is the people. so, so sometimes farmers have hard times like getting those machines. Sometimes we have hard times finding that people as workforce. So, is there any kind of situation that you are more interested, like compaction, or maybe some kind of nutrient deficiency?
I just thought generally, I think, you had mentioned about the aluminum
Mm-hmm.
toxicity. I think Rob was dealing with some of that also recently.
Yes. I'm
Yes,
like
it's
on the
because we have
borderline.
Yeah,
ah,
he was on the
well,
border.
yeah, we have some multisols that are high in aluminum.
Hmm.
So in some areas we have that situation.
Maybe you could tell me if I'm correct about dealing with sodium chloride in the soil. I guess my
Mm-hmm.
recommendation would be to use a ton of irrigation water if possible, if the water was also not high salt, and make sure there's enough sulfur on the soil. Would that be the correct remediation?
Well, soil salinity is very interesting because it's the way that you are going to manage it is depend of the landscape that you have. So, for example, if you have like good drainage, you can add as much water as you want and remove those salts from the soil profile. However, if you don't have a good drainage, you need to manage the situation like in situ, you know? So sometimes people is like removing the soil, but today, with all the innovations that we have in the market, as scientists, our first recommendation is to support the soil ecosystem that you have there. For example, the first thing is control the electrical conductivity with some kind of remediation technique, but also take count of the microbial communities that you have there. Because once you have salinity in soil, you have a shift in the microbial communities. So we need to understand that when we are remediating soil salinity, we have a workforce there that is working to manage all that salt. It's not the same workforce that we have when the soil is like 100 healthy with not any soil salinity problem. And why I mention this? Because we cannot eliminate that workforce at all. We need to learn how to manage it. So in saline areas, one of the things that we are trying to incorporate is to have plants that can adapt to the new soil condition as soil salinity and have them as a kind of feeder remediation. Why? Because in that way you are supporting the new microbial communities that you are supporting the new plant communities that you have, and once they remediate the salinity situation over time, then you can start like supporting the communities that will help with the new crop or with the new plants community. So in soil salinity, sometimes it's straightforward, as you mentioned, like adding water and washing the salts out of the soil profile. Sometimes you need to manage the situation as managing a entire community. That's basically how I see it.
I love that solution to it, just using the right plants there and just waiting for it. You might have to wait like a decade, right, before the soil
Yeah,
starts, getting rid of
yeah.
that salt. But
Well, let me put you an example. For example, if you are in, for example, here in North Dakota, what happens if we receive a bunch of new Americans? I mean, what we are gonna do? We need to teach them, like, hey, this is North Dakota. This is what we have here. This is what we do here. This is how we can incorporate your traditions and your culture in our daily life. So we need to open the space to welcome the new Americans. We cannot just let them like, hey, no, you are not welcome here. So in soil salinity, it's very similar. The new microbial communities and the new plants communities, they are there because the situation, the condition is the soil is different. So as soil scientists, my approach is to welcome them. Like, hey, you are now here. So let's see what we can do. Okay, you are good in removing salts. Okay, you are gonna to be here for X time doing your job. After that, we will have a replacement, another community, another new American with new skills. And in that way, you manage the community until they are a one community, and not just like new Americans and the
You want it to
general
all work
communities that we
together in
have.
one like cohesive
Yes,
system.
Mhm.
yes, yes. Yes, that's the situation. In soil salinity, you need a holistic approach. It's not just working with few communities and forget the bad ones, No, you need to work with all of them. That's why
Do
I
you have
have
any,
experience.
sorry, do
No,
you
it's
have any
fine.
recommendations for plants of taking out aluminum?
Well, honestly, that's not my area. But if you would like to know more, I can connect you with scientists from Puerto Rico that have more experience on that, and they will be more than happy to help because actually they are very passionate and they have been working in creating like their own like recommendations for Puerto Rico, but specifically for crops that we have there. So it will be nice to learn more about them and see how we can compare those results with what we have here in USA.
Incredible.
Sign me up for the experiment.
I
Looks
love
like
it.
I'll
Hmm.
have to use Mapchine. So, do you have a favorite soil profile? Like, is there any that like stand out to you that just through your work and research you've been like, this is like it just like sticks to you?
Wow. Okay, well, I love all the soils. I really enjoy them. But I need to say that I really like the molly soils because molly soils are are so deep, they are so dark, and they have a lot of history. I mean, molly soils here in North Dakota, for example, they can talk us about the plants community that we have like thousands years ago, all the animals community that we have here in the prairie as well. They, the soil can let us know how the geological process developed here and why we have this amazing landscape. So yes, I really like mollysols just because they are in the prairie and they have too much to say.
They're talkative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, after some lab analysis, they talk. They talk.
It's an awesome way to put it.
Yeah.
I love that. I just have to say that I love your energy surrounding soils, and I
Thank
think that
you.
maybe you developed some kind of personal philosophy that starts in the soil, but it kind of extends to all other areas of life. And I think it just comes through really well when you talk about these things.
I hope so. I hope so because I really believe that soil it's our ally. You know, it's not just our path to have fruits. It's also a thing that we can use to improve our life. So that's my job, and if someone needs some help with that, I am here more than happy to contribute.
I know, and I think for just like a closing question,
Mhm.
I can just imagine the challenges you faced from coming from Puerto Rico to here, from being a lady and going into science and STEM, and then also soil science. So I think just for like inspiration for our viewers and anyone who might want to join soil science, what challenges did you face? How did you overcome them? And what are you most optimistic about in the future?
Mm, Well, I have something to mention, and and it's not related with money or any kind of resource because I really believe that if you want to get something, you can get it no matter how because you will always find someone that is gonna to help you, someone that can guide you. I mean, sometimes we don't reach our goals because we want to reach them alone and you born from a human so you don't do things alone in your life anymore. It's not like that. We have the vision that, oh my god, I am so independent, I am unique, but no, 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 no. We are all together, we are all connected, and we need to work as that. So I think that I have a lot of limitations and challenge related with obviously the economic part, obviously sometimes with the transportation. But I feel that the challenge that really stop women moving forward in soil science is the attitude that we have with them. And I will give you an example. When I started in soil science, I really enjoyed to have my nails done. Like, oh my God, my nails are like, they are mine, I only have 10 nails and they are mine. They are mine. I can feel them. They help me to grab things. They help me to write. So I am really thankful with my nails. And working in soil science, for me, it's for me has been really important to keep my hands like clean and healthy because working in soil, you have like a lot of scratch and if you ride, it's part of our health. It's not just like using sunscreen in the field. We need to take care of other part, like our back part. So with the hands, it's the same. And when I started in soil science, that was something hard to understand for some scientists because they cannot connect how you can work with soil but not having your hand dirty. So it's like there is no connection. And something that I really want to promote in soil science is that you don't need to sacrifice your feminine energy just because you are in a male dominated field. I mean,
Mm.
your feminine energy has too much to contribute to them. I mean, in the field, for example, I am always like, hey, where is the water to wash our hand? Where is the soup? Where is the blah, blah, blah? Because I think that health is important. And if I am going to talk about soil health, I need to recognize that the health starts with us. So we need to take care of it as well, and I feel that it's hard for some women sometimes because they face these kind of comments and they don't feel like welcome or part of our community. So that is why I am so scientist, but I always have my nails on and I don't have dirt on them because I mean I have a brush in my home and I can clean them. So but that is not something that will make me less soil scientist. I mean it's not that like that. So I think that the biggest challenge for women in soil science or for any minority is like the way that we treat them. So
Mm.
so my advice is like we need to treat people as we want to be treated. So in my case, I want to be welcome in all the spaces because I really like to connect with people. So I really try to do that with people in the community. I try to welcome them in soil science, no matter if you work with makeup, no matter if you work with nails, no matter if you work in a dairy farm, you can always be involved in soil science, no matter how you look, no matter how you are, no matter where you're from, because soil science is what connects all of us.
Well said. I mean, I definitely, as a guy, just go out in my garden, get my hands all dirty, and I don't think about like the cleanliness of the after the fact. So definitely having that more feminine perspective would help a lot in like a team.
Yeah,
So,
well, I mentioned that because sometimes if you don't take care of your hands, you can put microbes in your mouth, and it's scientific proof that when you have some infections in your mouth, it can affect your hair health. So it's
hmm.
like everything is connected. So we need to wash the hands and take care of
And Royce, no eating more dirt.
it. And well, in some countries, people consume like soil cookies just
Really?
to have. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I need to confess, I want to go to some of these countries just to have that.
Do you know what
Yeah, yeah.
countries?
Well, some of them are in Africa, and there are other areas, specifically in South America and in USA, there are some people that it's so rare, but there are some people that keep the culture and tradition of consuming soil because some communities use like soil cookies as a way to get like supplements.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing
Yeah,
clickbait. I need that
yeah,
title. I went to Africa and ate a soil cookie.
yeah.
That'd be amazing.
So at
Oh
some point,
man.
one day.
Well, I wish you luck with that, and hopefully I we can try that too. But wow, I mean, just to close it off, is there what do you have that you look forward in the future about soil or science? Just what do you want to end things off with?
Um, well, I want to end with a community of soil related people where you don't need to be scientists to be involved with soil. I
Mhm.
mean, I would like to create a place where people can come and learn and touch and contact the soil in many ways, not just for food production, as well for other things. I mean, right now we have scientists making music from soil. I mean, we can connect soil in multiple ways. So my vision, my dream is to have a community where people can connect through soil. So that's basically
And
my
it sounds
long
like you're
term
making it
goal.
happen.
Yeah, yeah, it's happening. We are working for.
Well, thank you so much, Beverly, for coming on our podcast. I will drop all your social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, any websites for Mapchine as well, and Soil Science Lady, all down in the description. Please go check her out. And thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast. It's been a pleasure and keep growing. Thank you.